Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rachakodash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well, and peace and blessings to the elect. And this year is Amma 1 from the Great Millstone camp in Trinidad. Coming back again to do another lesson through the Holy Spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai. And the name of this lesson is basically well, you see Nick Cannon on the screen, alright, but this whole thing is about Esau's birthright, okay? Well, Jacob's birthright, that Esau Edom, alright, seek, alright, to get back. Okay, I have a video here that I would like to play, and you can't see it, but you could hear it. And when you hear it, you will hear the voice. What you will be hearing is the voice of the one known as Jacob Rothschild. Alright, and speaking on the Balfour Declaration, and I'll play it here right now. But the name of this video is basically World War I, World War II, and the reason why Nick Cannon got fired. Alright, I'll be touching on these topics: World War I, World War II, and the reason why Nick Cannon got fired, and the reason why nobody is to speak on the so-called Jews at any given time. And they might take down this video, but the reason why you're not to speak on them, okay, these people know who we are, they know who them is, they know who everybody is at any given time, they know. And I'm gonna play this here, this video here. Alright, so I'll put on the phone and I'll go and play the video here. Okay, who you are about to hear is Jacob Rothschild speaking on the Balfour Declaration. Okay, I'll play it.
And here it is, the Balfour Declaration. What do you feel when you see it here?
I genuinely feel it's one of the most extraordinary moments.
That's Jacob Rothschild speaking. Which these are the men who rule the world. But some people just try to say, nah, them is not them. No, it is them. Them is the men. Them is the men that runs everything that we see. Okay? So I'm going to continue to play it.
In the history of the Jewish people. If you think it took 3 moments in the history of the Jewish people, if you think it took 3,000 years to get to this, and then you say, how did this miracle happen? It's the most incredible piece of opportunism.
Alright, so if you heard him, you heard that he said, alright, it took 3,000 years to get to that. First things first, one question that one should be asking themselves is, how the fuck you know it takes all your 3,000 years to get to that? How we know that? These people dealing with Satan, so there. You understand? Them ain't dealing with no low ranking demon at all. Them dealing with Satan. Them is Satan's children. Okay? That is who them is. Alright? He says the most extraordinary piece of opportunism. And you know what is the opportunism? The opportunity presented itself in World War I and World War II. which was carefully crafted by the elite, the Rothschilds and other elite bankers, but the Rothschilds spearheaded it to set up a home for the Jewish people in the land of Israel, because it is about the birthright. Alright, that is what it is about. It is about Esau getting back his birthright, which he believes belongs to him. Alright, the birthright which he sold unto Jacob, the true Israelites. Okay, this is the book of Genesis, chapter 27 and verse 37. Now what you have to understand is, in verse 25, alright, Jacob outsmarted Edom, outwitted him, and took away his birthright. This is Genesis 25. Read from 23. It says, and Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 60 years old when she bare them. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. And Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob, and Jacob sought pottage. And Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? And Jacob said, swear to me this day. And he sware unto him. And he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils. And he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. So we see Esau sold that birthright. And how that birthright was? That birthright was the inheritance of the whole earth. The kingdom of heaven. Alright? That what the birthright was. Because the blessings and the promises passed down unto Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay? Esau is of Isaac as well as Jacob, but Esau, being the firstborn, was to get the birthright. But he sold it to Jacob, and his generations down the road, alright, this is why the scriptures say this. The book of, let me get the Apocrypha. Alright, this is why the scriptures say this. The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 41, and verse 4. Now read from verse 5. It says, the children of sinners are abominable children, and they that are conversant in the dwelling of the ungodly. The inheritance of sinners' children shall perish, and their posterity shall have a perpetual reproach. The children will complain of an ungodly father, because they shall be reproached for his sake. See? And that is the point. His generations down the road, alright, when Esau, Edom descendants realize what the fuck their father did for some food, they started to complain. Okay? They started complaining. They started saying, what the hell, boy? This is what this man do for some food, boy. So they in turn looked at Jacob as the enemy. And this is what I'm going to read here. Alright? Because they're looking at Jacob as Jacob outsmarted them. But all Jacob did, they're looking at Jacob as like if Jacob steal from them. No, Esau was the fool. You can't look at Jacob like that. Alright? So Jacob, okay, I'm gonna give you a history, a rundown of the history. Jacob, alright, through Rebecca, when Esau went on hunt to come for Isaac, and then to come back, alright, for Isaac to bless him. Rebecca, which is Jacob and Esau's mother, alright, took her son Jacob, dressed him up as Esau, make him smell like Esau, gave him Esau clothes if I'm mistaken. Alright. Yeah, she gave me Esau clothes. And send Jacob in the room. Send Jacob in the room. Yeah, select. Send Jacob in the room where Isaac was, for Isaac to bless Jacob instead of Esau. So Isaac thought it was Esau. And blessed Esau. And blessed Jacob. Okay? Which he had the birthright nevertheless. Jacob is the one with the birthright. Right? Hey, and that's symbolically, even if we come in Esau's stead, like as we is in Babylon, the Lord will always have mercy on Jacob. See? That symbolizes that. Even if we in Esau's stead, and we looking like Esau, and we come functioning just like Esau, and we have only clothes, Jacob's children will always be blessed. Okay? By the Heavenly Father, because we are the Israelites. Alright? And from Esau's kingdom is when we go and get the blessing. Living like Esau and functioning like Esau, from his kingdom is when the blessing will come upon us. But nevertheless, let me continue this. Right? So Jacob went and he got the blessing. Alright? And then Esau returned. And this is what Isaac had us to say unto Esau. It says verse 34, and when Esau heard the words of his father, let's know, verse 33, Genesis 27 verse 33. There's an Isaac trembled exceedingly and said, who? Where is he that hath taken venison and brought it to me? And I have eaten of all before thou camest, and have blessed him, yea, and he shall be blessed. When Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry, and said unto his father, bless me, even me also, O my father. And he said, thy brother came with subtlety, and had taken away thy blessing. And he said, is not he rightly named Jacob? For he had supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and now, behold, now, he hath taken away my blessing. And he said, hast thou not reserved a blessing for me? And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, behold, I have made him thy lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. What shall I do now unto thee, my son? It is not for you, Esau. And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing? My father bless me, even me also, my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. It shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing. Listen, This is the point. Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, his mind, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. Okay? And that never changed in his mind. So when his descendants found out what took place, his descendants was wrought. And his descendants remembered everything what Jacob do unto Esau. Hence the reason why Jacob Rothschild could stand up and say 3,000 years to take. It take them to get the Balfour Declaration. Okay? He said 3,000 years to get that. What is the big significance behind the Balfour Declaration? In the words of Eustace Mullins, first you have to understand what wars are. Wars are not one nation vexed with our next nation and looking to go to war. No. Wars are strategically planned out for years and years by a group of individuals and make it happen on the world stage. He said wars are just a movie that happens in real life, where the directors and the producers and whatnot is a staged event. This is the words of Eustace Mullins, so-called conspiracy theorist, but he was just a truther. And it's the same thing that goes on up to this day. They class truthers as conspiracy theorists, but nevertheless, Esau Edom, alright, sat down for centuries, not just a day, for decades, not just 2 hours, and strategically planned out World War I and World War II for the benefit of themselves. Now, does war have financial benefits behind it? Of course. When war's being fought, the rich get richer, the elites get more money. That is one aspect. A war's fought between different countries, and is there a victor? Yeah, different peons just fight the wars. The soldiers just fight the wars, and yeah, they just get, some of them just get victory, some of them just get honored from the war, you know. But the main basis of why these 2 wars was fought wasn't because Germany had a big beef with England. The Rothschild, alright, yeah, the people in Germany had problems with England because the English had problems with the Germans because the Germans' technology was far superior at that time to the English, and yeah, that is apartheid, yeah. But the elite, the Rothschild, the Rockefellers, well, mainly the Rothschild, because the Rothschild are the world rulers of today. Them is the money men. Okay? They, alright, as a book I was reading, that their father wanted the land of Israel and tell them to get that land of Israel, make sure and do that before he died, to set up a home for the Jews, a national home for the Jews. Okay? The land of Israel was being controlled partially by the Ottoman Empire, but there wasn't like a standing government in that land in the early 1900s. Alright? And you have World War I, 1914. Mind you, World War I came after the establishment of the third central bank in the United States, known as the Federal Reserve, a privately owned bank that lends money to the government of the United States. The first privately owned bank was the first bank of the United States. Second privately owned bank was the second bank of the United States. Third privately owned bank was the Federal Reserve. They just switched the name. Okay. 1913 it was set up. 1914, yeah, you have World War I with the countries. Who's the biggest players in the World War? Who's the biggest players? You have the Germans with the English. You have Austria-Hungary. You have France. You have Italy. Alright? Where did Mayer Amschel Rothschild send his 5 sons? All of these countries that I just called is where he sent his 5 sons. And they were ruling over these countries in Europe for years. They was constructing this war. This war was no vexed thing. And within the war, Russia left the war early due to the Bolshevik Revolution, which is where they went and killed the Tsar Nicholas. Alright, I can't remember if it's the second or what. They killed him, and after they killed him, Russia was to leave World War I early and go and handle that scene. Go and deal with that uproar in Russia, because the Rothschilds, when you read books, you have to read books. The Rothschilds set up that whole scene in Russia. So they wanted to get into Russia and set up their regime in Russia, because the Russians and the Rothschilds had beef from a long time. So they got into Russia in 1917, 1918. And also that what came out of that war, one of the most substantial things. Now when they went into Russia in the 1900s, they milked Russia. They took all the riches from the man, the Tsar, and they stored it, right? But one of the main things that came out, the main thing that stuck out in World War I was the Balfour Declaration, which in ways, the Balfour Declaration is like Esau's copycat of the birthright, because that Balfour Declaration basically gave him his birthright back. Okay? That is what it was. This man wants back his birthright. And what do you see on the friggin' Balfour Declaration? Dear Lord Rothschild. Okay? The whole purpose of that war, by thy sword shalt thou live. The whole purpose of that war, the whole purpose of that fighting, of that bloodshedding, they was manipulating countries, manipulating citizens, manipulating civilians, sons, alright, husbands, alright, nephews, cousins. They were manipulating them into fighting this war, not for the benefit of their country, but rather for the benefit of the elite to get ultimately riches, but more importantly, a fake birthright given unto them by what is his name, by Milner, alright, Lord Milner. Wasn't really Arthur Balfour, but is Lord Milner and the Round Table Group with Cecil Rhodes and all of them, with the Rothschilds Fund and all of that. Alright, Lord Milner, I believe, is in 1916 actually wrote up that Balfour, so-called Balfour Declaration, because all these men was pro-Zionists looking for a home for the Jews. Alright, and Arthur Balfour just sign it in his own way and sign his signature and say, well, right, this is what it is. Okay, because he had the power to do such, and they used that influence, took that, kept it. They say, well, alright, okay, we got our birthright. This is the birthright, we keeping this. Because remember, they are so-called Jews. The elite, the Rothschild, so-called Jews. They got their birthright, they keep it. 1920 and 1919, between them years, when they went to the Treaty of Versailles. The Treaty of Versailles was where they ordered the Germans to pay for every single damage that they caused. They had to pay back everybody. Thus, the Germans started to print so much money that inflation went up to the sky, and this is where you get the where you're sitting down in a restaurant in Germany around that time, and a steak must be $2, and by the time you finish it is about 200. That is because the Treaty of Versailles bankrupted Germany. In the Treaty of Versailles, alright, I can't remember the man's name, but in the Treaty of Versailles, the Rothschild actually pulled out the Balfour Declaration and say, well, right, England, all you remember, all you say, if all you win the war, all you go make sure and give us, alright, give us the land of Israel. So look, we have this right here, this article here, give you the land of Israel. Alright, and they agreed. Right, how now do we move into the land of Israel? They were planning for years. Now we need a man as a puppet to take the fall, for we to justify yourself in moving into the land of Israel. They needed a man, a fall guy, because they need the Jews to look like they are under a lot of persecution in the world. They need the Jews to look like that. Okay? To look like they're under the worst. So they got one of their own, who I believe they didn't really like, because he was a bastard, but nevertheless they play the game with him. And hence they set up Hitler, Adolf Hitler, or Adolf Schicklgruber, or by rights Adolf, because he came from the father, but the mother wasn't a Jew, so it doesn't really deal with that. The mother had to be a Jew. or Adolf Rothschild. Yeah? Son or grandson of Lord Rothschild from Austria. Yeah? It's Austria or somewhere, can't remember. And his mother was, his grandmother was Anna Maria Schicklgruber or something like that, who gave birth to Alois Schicklgruber. And Alois Schicklgruber, which is the father of Adolf Schicklgruber, which is Adolf Hitler, was a direct descendant of the Rothschild, but he was living, they kicked him out, so they now turned to him. He was back in Germany, alright, and they turned to him and they set him up as a world power. They funded him heavily, so they started to praise Hitler as a great savior of Germany, because he turned around that great economic depression and made Germany back into a world power. So they started to give him all the plaudits for that, but he was being heavily funded by the elite, not knowing that he would have been set up he would have been set up after to be the biggest devil on the earth, causing a fake Holocaust. Okay? Because when you look at the population of the Jewish population, so-called Jewish population before World War II and after World War II, is the same, almost the same population, almost the same amount of people. So they set up Alois Schicklgruber, or Adolf Schicklgruber, or Adolf Hitler, as the fall guy to enact that Balfour Declaration, which was given them 20 years prior. So they needed another war. Okay? They needed another war. Because what came out of this Second World War was what? Was the moving in of all Jewish people, hence fulfilling prophecy. So-called Jews returning home, back to the homeland, to live. That is what came out of World War II. And why? Because another madman like Adolf Hitler could always rise up and kill the Jews. Kill 7 million Jews again. And you cannot be killing God's chosen people like that. So we need a place to stay. And here it is. We have the Balfour Declaration in hand. And up to now, we ain't not in the land yet. So why? What is it taking so long for? We need justification, and they use that as their justification. So they fought World War I and World War II to really and truly not just get rich, not just get millions and billions in the bank, but hence get their birthright. It's about the birthright for Esau, Edom. Alright, and thus fulfill the scriptures. Ezekiel 36:5 says, therefore thus saith the Lord power, the Lord Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahushai, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea, which have appointed my land. And the word Idumea is Edom. Alright, look up the meaning of the word Idumea. Come from the Hebrew Ada. It's supposed to have a Y in between, not Adam, but Adawam, which means red. Edom, red. Edom, Edom, Idumean, descendants of Esau. Okay. So, residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea, which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their heart. See? They appointed the Lord's land into their possession, not with sadness in the mind, with the joy of all their heart. Come from the word joy, come from the Hebrew shamach, shamacha. It means mirth, gladness, joy, mirth, gladness, joy, gaiety, pleasure. It was pleased. It was pleased. That pleased them. And how did they use it? How did they get it? By the sword. By murdering, by killing billions, by killing millions, by having your sons and your daughters going and fight for a cause, for their country. And their sinister plan behind it was to get the land of Israel. It was never for no fucking war between Germany and England and France, and no. It was just their sinister plan was to get their birthright back. Joy of God, glad result. See? A glad result. That was the glad result. The land of Israel, happy issue. It says, blithsomeness or glee, religious or festival, exceedingly gladness, joyfulness, mirth, pleasure, rejoice. Joyful voices, joyful cries, joyful banquets, pleasures, joy, gladness. See? With the joy of all their heart, with the spiteful minds, to cast it out for a prey. And that is it. They have the spiteful minds. Have the spiteful mind to cast it out for a prey. But the point is, they will do that just to get a land. They don't give a fuck. These elite. You didn't hear the man say, you didn't listen to the man, or the man say, really it was the most extremely form of opportunism. Extreme form of opportunity. They used that opportunity to get at them. World war. They waged a war on the world. To get a fake to get a fake birthright. Because that piece of paper gives them the opportunity to go into the land of Israel and say, we back home, we in the house, we safe. Okay? So now, Nick Cannon making such statements. This is where they set up the ADL, Anti-Defamation League. This is where they set up all kind of different organizations that anybody, even ever talk anything about the Jews or the so-called Jews. You say anything bad about we'll hunt your ass down. Listen to this. Listen to this. This is Jacob Rothschild reading the Balfour Declaration.
I received the Balfour Declaration, and I have a copy here. And I wonder if I could possibly ask you to read it for us.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. I'm going to put on my spectacles to make sure I'm reading accurately. His Majesty's government view with favor the establishment of Palestine as a national home for the Jewish people, and will use their best endeavors to facilitate the achievement of this object, it being clearly understood that nothing shall be done which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine.
See, they'll use their best endeavors to make sure it happens. So even if it means killing a motherfucking nation, that to get done. See? Fulfilling prophecy. You see? And who was the master behind all of that? Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. They'll wage war on everybody to get that, brother. Scripture said the devil has come down with great wrath. He'll do anything. He lives by the sword. He'll do anything to make sure his desire accomplished. So Nick Cannon now coming up with a bold statement, being in the hands of these elites, in the hands of these so-called Jews. They feed him, they clothe him, they put a roof over his head. Okay? That is his lords, that is his bosses. Making such statements as these so-called Jews are basically imposters, and we are the real Jews. You nigga, you will get annexed, you will get cut, not annexed. You will annex mean to capture. You'll get cut, you'll get fired, you'll get let go. These people killed, they say some 60 million, they say no, about 40 million casualties, 10 million dead in World War One, so to say. About 60 some million dead in World War Two. These people killed millions of people for them to live that lie, for them to be in that stead. War was waged, millions died, and you now coming after we feed you and clothe you to make mention that we aren't those people. Nah, you have to get fired, and if you look sharp, we kill you. Anybody talk about them so-called Jews and them, anyway, any entertainer, any big man in the industry, bash these so-called Jews and them, they'll get fucked up. You know who does bash them? Sacha Baron Cohen. But you know what going on with Sacha Baron Cohen? He is a so-called Jew, so he could bash them. Cohen, his surname is Cohen, which means priest, Kahan. So, like the man walking Borat and the Dictator. He like to make fun of them, but he is one, so you don't jump me he. But you see, that same Sacha Baron Cohen came down in like an angel, like in so-called angel wings, upside down naked. Alright, I believe that is when his movie Bruno came out, and he went with his ball sack in Eminem's face, and Eminem couldn't do a fucking thing. In the awards theater, sit down right there, Eminem sit down right there, and Eminem couldn't do a thing. These are the people who run Hollywood, they run the US, they run the world. So Nick Cannon even making mention of that will get his throat bust one time. These men in plane, they done killed millions. Who the fuck is you? We killed millions to live this lie. That is what I'm saying. You coming and calling up the Rothschild name and all of that, but you're playing mad. Put him in the place. And he get put in the place because he went and apologized to them. You don't apologize to them. Hey, the history is vast. I just give you a little summary on these people and them. But the history vast. You thinking them been planning this thing for 2 days, bruh. Them planning this for years, decades. Sit down and planning out. How you feel Albert Pike, alright, in the fucking 1800s could write up the plan for 3 world wars, boy? How you feel that happen, boy? You feel that happen by coincidence? Albert Pike was a 33-degree Freemason, boy. Funded by the elite, the Rothschilds, boy. He was funded by the Rothschilds. He was funded. You have, what's his name? Giuseppe, Italian, an ex-Italian man, 33 degrees Freemason. And the Freemasons was just normal, alright, just a normal secret society. Used to worship the devil. But when the Illuminati was formed, the Illuminati took over the Freemasons. Okay? The Illuminati took over the Freemasons, and it have a book, I can't remember, it's Alda something, which is a book based on how to take over the Roman Catholic Church. And that was a secret society in Italy, and who was over that secret society was a Rothschild. They control everything. Their hands are short, their hands are long. So they cannot making them kind of statements, and the Rothschild feeding he'll get the throat bust. You see, and that's the thing with us, the Israelites, the true believers in Yahweh Ba'Sham Yahushai. We will speak the truth till death come. Okay? Death can be staring us down in the face, and we say, nah, the truth had to be revealed. Death could wait. Okay? The truth had to be revealed. Alright? So you see in the canon here, in the canons class, alright? He in the canons class here, talking to Professor Griff, and they talked that talk, and then he got fired. That's the reason why he got fired. The reason why he got fired is because these men done killed millions to live the lie. Who is you to tell them they aren't these people? And you is? So you know what I mean? You know what I mean? That means exactly what it is. That means they know there's Edomites long time. These elites done watching we long time and don't tell themselves they know there's Edomites. They know. Okay? They know they are Edomites. They know we are the Israelites. They know that from the start. But they want to live the lie. So you have to live the lie along with them. Don't say shit. Okay? Hush your fucking mouth. That is what I'm saying. And that is the whole basis of the wars. The two major wars in the world. From a Rothschild perspective. And then you go read Revelation chapter 8 and 11, Revelation chapter 9 and 12, and Revelation chapter 11 and 14. It talks about 3 wars. 1 war is past, 2 wars cometh after, 2 wars are past, and the other cometh quickly. That is the prophecy of the Heavenly Father too. They fulfilled. Okay? They ultimately fulfilled the Lord's prophecy. But that is how they did it. That is why they do it for. They do it for the land of Israel. They do it for the land of Israel, the state of Israel, to say they are the Israelites. Say they are the true Jews. The real Hebrews. And to say we is just black beasts. Black and so-called brown. Well, we all are brown. Beasts. Okay? The natives, the Negroes, and the Latinos. And them is gods on earth. Them know what the hell going on. These elites don't know everything. Nobody can't even tell them know everything. Okay? Well, with that, I'll give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash. Now, I'm going to read our next precept here, Book of Hebrews, chapter 12, and verse 16. It says, lest there be any fornicator or profane person, as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. For you know how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected. For he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. So, you know he get rejected, but he wanted still. So he'll use his sword and any means necessary to get it and set up and live like us. Because he know what coming to us. He know what the hell coming to us. This is what he trying to set up. He trying to set up what coming to we. But in a fake way. Because we will know all things. He want to put a microchip in here. We will own all things. He bankrupt in the world to try and own all things. Okay, we will be, alright, God's on the face of the earth. He want to live forever. This is what he trying to get the birthright back. He want that back. He want to be what he know what the birthright consists of. His descendants know. So they trying all how to get it back, to establish it on the earth. But it cannot happen because Yahweh Shai already died and rose. The Lord Yahweh gave him all things. You Edomites only have to hold a back seat. Okay? So with that, I'll give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash, double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well, and peace and blessings to the elect. Shalom. Hopefully I was edified. Shalom. I know it was kind of long, but hopefully you've been edified. Shalom.